Hello, my friends. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm sharing high-end inspired fall decor DIYs using dollar store finds that look just like the expensive pieces you see at high-end stores like Pottery Barn, Crate and Barrel, Anthropologie, Mickey and Co, and other designer stores, but for a fraction of the cost. These projects are easy, affordable, and perfect for bringing the warm, elegant fall look into your home without overspending. If you love creating beautiful seasonal decor on a budget, you're in the right place. I'm Sonia, and this is DIYs with Sonia, where I share high-end home decor dupes, seasonal decorating ideas, and budget-friendly DIY projects you can easily make yourself. So grab your glue gun, hit that subscribe button, and let's get started. Now let's dive into the DIYs. Our first project is these gorgeous fall pumpkins inspired by Pottery Barn. You all know how pricey their decor can be, but I found these irregular shaped pumpkins at Dollarama for $5, and the smaller ones were $3.75. And I was able to make them over for large one for under $6 and small one for around $4. I used acrylic paint in custom mix of brown, yellow, red, blue, and white to get that perfect warm fall colors. I applied 2 coats and let them dry completely between each one. You can add some flour or baking soda if you liked texture, but I kept mine smooth. And the stems, let them as I left them as they are because they have that perfect whimsical feel, just like Pottery Barn. I painted the others in a cream color as well as a light beige color. But I did that off camera so I don't bore you with all the painting. And I just love how these turned out, and they're perfect for my front porch. If you would like to check out how I decorated my front porch, make sure you head on over to my home channel. Also, I will link a green pumpkin that I DIY'd last year up in the corner if you want to check out that one, how it turned out. Next, I wanted to recreate the stunning bronze cast iron branch from Pottery Barn. Instead of spending a fortune, I went to my garden, found a giant branch, and spray painted it with black and bronze antique paint. I started with solid black base coat, then lightly went over it with bronze, and then followed by another light coat of black. This DIY was so easy, and I love how it turned out. It's going to look amazing in my Halloween decor this year. And the next craft or DIY was inspired by Chick on the Cheap. And she had used these little pumpkins that she picked up at Dollar Tree with the lids. Now, like I said, our Dollar Tree doesn't have anything, although if I find them, I will be creating this for them as well. So I used one of these candles, the religious candles from a Dollar Tree, and I just put them in a pot with some water and let the wax melt. This took about 45 minutes, and then once the wax was fully melted, I took out the wick and then I transferred the wick to my pumpkin that I had. This was a thrifted pumpkin, and then I poured the wax in and let it set. And here it is. You can even add some essential oils to it or even food coloring if you'd like. I think this would look really, really good with those little pumpkins from Dollar Tree, just like she made on little trays or as project. And I will be recreating a pillow by using a table placemats from Dollarama. And this is the original piece that I'm going to try and recreate. So it's very similar, obviously not exactly the same. The placemat is, I like using these placemats because they are double fabric sewn together, so you can open it up and you can stuff it, or you can have it as a pillowcase. I originally was going to leave just a little bit opened so I can stuff it, but then I realized I didn't have enough stuffing, so I ended up opening it up completely, so that way I can just use it as a pillowcase. This is part of a sweater that I had thrifted a long time ago for the purpose of crafting. I've made pillows, I've made candle sleeves, and this is the last piece that's left, and I'm going to cut this into pumpkins. I did draw out a shape with just a marker of the pumpkin. I did try to use a pen, but it did not work, so I just used a marker, and just so that way I can have a more accurate cutout. For the stems, I'm going to use some burlap. And first I'm going to obviously again figure out where I want the pumpkins to go before I hot glue them, and be very, very careful not to burn your fingers. And here it is. I think I need a bit of a smaller pillow to go inside of it, and I probably should have cut the pumpkins a tiny bit smaller, but I think it looks pretty good nevertheless. And here is the original. I think it came pretty close. If you wanted to add those lines, I would suggest adding some rope or maybe using some paint to add those lines. I chose not to do that. I just wanted to keep it. For my next project, I'm using one of these easels that wood easels, or what are they called? The wood artist panels from Dollarama. These are $4, and you can see I used it for something else on the other side, but I'm turning it over and I'm going to just paint a little bit of white just across very lightly. Okay, so now I just wanted to see that the white is everywhere where the acorn is. So now I'm going to use a gel stain in Spanish Oak by Old Masters, and I'm going to stain the outside. So I'm using this as a stencil. This came from Dollar Tree. There we go. I think that looks really good. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to take this rag that I was dipping and just lightly brush over so it's not so bright. so it almost blends it all in. There we go. Very easy, and it cost me around $5 because I will be using this again anyways for something else. Was definitely inspired by Instagram reels that I've been watching, or TikTok reels. I picked this spider up at Dollar Tree for $1.50, and I wanted to give it a more of a nicer look. So I'm just adding some Mod Podge, which was suggested by one of my subscribers. It just makes the paint stick to the surface a little bit easier, because this type of material is a material that the paint will slide right off. So the first step was to add Mod Podge everywhere where I was going to paint it. I did actually end up painting it in another spot that I did not add Mod Podge because it's just the way I operate, but nevertheless the paint worked out fine. Now this is not necessarily an outdoor item, but it could be if that's what you wanted to use it. I'm actually using it as a candle holder. I'm using a heavy candle that I placed on it on my coffee table. I think this just adding gold to it made it look really high end and expensive. You've seen these at HomeSense ranging anywhere from $9.99 up to $30. So I am quite happy that I managed to do this one for under $2. Moving on to my next project, I have had these pumpkins now for a while, and they've been just sitting in my bin. This one that I'm cutting out is from Dollar Tree that I have painted, and the next one is from the thrift store. That was actually one of my very first fall DIYs that I've ever made on my other channel, and I've painted it in duck egg blue. I'm going to be recreating this look. I absolutely love these candles from Pottery Barn, but at over $100 for a small one, I think it's just a little too pricey. And I'm going to be achieving that look by getting these tea light candles, the battery operated tea lights that I picked up at Dollar Tree for $1.50. So my project cost me $1.50, but if you were to get the 2 pumpkins from the dollar store, it would be extra $3. So again, another project that's coming in under $5, and this is for 2, whereas that's a price for 1. So I think this is a great savings again, and you can get pretty close to that look. So the first thing that I'm doing is I'm just going to cut out holes big enough to fit my tea lights. Now, I was originally going to paint these, but I am quite happy with the color that they are at. I will be whitewashing them just to achieve that look that the Pottery Barn candles have. But I think that will be the extent of this project. There's not a lot of involvement, but if you wanted to paint these, you can definitely paint them any color you want. They don't even have to be the colors that the Pottery Barn has if those colors don't suit your decor. But you definitely want to make sure that you cut the holes big enough that you can stick those tea lights in tightly so that way they don't fall through. But they're not hard to take out because you're going to want to be turning those on and off. So once the holes were big enough for my tea lights, I went ahead and mixed my white paint with some water. And you want this to be fairly watered down, so that way you can just brush the paint on and then brush it, clean it off. And I will just use a rag to wipe it off. This is a fairly easy thing to do, and I'm adding the paint into the creases, and then like I said, I'm going to blend it or wipe it off with a rag. So I just want to say, if this is your first time stopping by, welcome. My name is Sonia, and here on this channel I share tons of different high-end dupes as well as furniture makeovers, and I'm very excited for what the next few months what I have in store for you guys for next few months. So I would love it if you considered subscribing and becoming a part of my YouTube family. I am so very pleased with the way these turned out, and I can't wait to start using them in my decor. And I love the fact that the Dollar Tree tea lights flicker a little bit, so it kind of gives it that even more that high-end look. Going to be starting with a wreath. I am going to be making 2 of them, and for this I had purchased these mini skulls at Dollarama, as well as this moss and some ravens. These all came from Dollarama. The twine wreaths I had on hand. These were actually my old fall decor wreaths that I had taken apart, because last year I had purchased some new hay wreaths that I wanted to have, so I kept these. I did use them at springtime, but they have been just sitting on the shelves ever since then. So I did take my Athenian black chalk paint, and I'm going to add a little bit of water to it because it is kind of at its end and it gotten a little thick, and I wanted to water it down as much as I could. And I'm going to just dab some paint all over these wreaths. I'm not looking for full coverage. I just wanted to add a little bit of black to the wreath. Now you can buy these wreaths at Michael's. I think I've seen them for around $30 that are fully black, if that's what you would like to do. I often just go to Value Village and buy random wreaths just for the twine. Is it twine or is it wine? Twig wreath. So that way I can just take everything off and use it for my DIY that I will be making. It's a lot cheaper. Usually I can pick up a wreath for around $5. And sometimes I'm even able to use the stuff that's on it for different types of DIYs. So I do this for both because if you are new to my channel, I have 2 front doors, and this year I want to go for Halloween theme in a more of a hocus pocus theme for Halloween decor on my front porch. So this is why I thought these raven wreaths would look good on there. I don't want it to be too flashy, so I wanted to have something more adult spooky, if you know what I mean. So now I'm going to just do a little trial run to see how I want this moss to look like. I'm almost creating like a spooky bird's nest here. And once I kind of get the idea how I want it to look, I'm also just testing out where exactly I want to put the raven. Now the ravens did have a little bit of a wire on the bottom, but it wasn't enough to wrap it around. It was enough just to hold it in place, but then I did have to use some hot glue and some twist ties to attach it. You could also probably use just a floral wire as well. It would probably work the same. So I feel like it's been a while since I've shared a video. I am really not doing a really good job in posting regularly, but I am struggling a little bit with creativity as well as time. So if you can just bear with me, I am hoping to give you a few Christmas DIYs, which will be starting shortly after this one goes live. So just bear with me. It will be a mix of new DIYs with some good old ones as well. Like I said, I'm finding I have lost a bit of creativity, I guess, when it comes to creating DIYs. And I don't want to just make DIYs for the sake of making them with no purpose. I want to create items that I can either gift or use in my own decor. So I do want to thank all of you that have stuck around with me and, because like I said, I haven't been really posting. So I just want to say thank you so much for sticking around and being patient with me. I'm sure it's just like writer's block. It's a crafter's block that I'm going through. I did feel very excited to be creating these DIYs, and I do love the way they turned out. I will be also sharing a decorate with me video over on my home channel where you can see how I use these in my decor and tying it into the whole hocus pocus theme. So now I'm going to add some skulls, mini skulls on the bottom of the wreath of the bottom of the nest, or the top of the nest at the bottom of the bird. This is kind of to give you an illusion of the bird is a lot larger than the skulls kind of thing. I don't know, it's a vision that I've had. At this point, I felt like the wreath needed a little bit of something else, so I'm going to add these spiders that I got at Dollar Tree. I thought they were a great price for $1.50 for two of these. They look really good. They look really high end, so I wanted to add these, and I think this was what the wreath needed. And now I'm just going to add some ribbon. Now I did add the checkered ribbon, the buffalo plaid ribbon onto it. I was contemplating about doing the burlap ribbon as well, but I went with the buffalo plaid, and now I was looking at them and thinking maybe I'll switch it out. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do. You can obviously do whatever you want and whichever one you like. If you are replicating this, you can do it any way you want it to. So here they are hanging on my two front doors, and I absolutely love the way they turn. For my next project, I'm going to be making a wreath. Wreaths can be quite expensive, especially from high-end stores, and as you can see, this one at Crate and Barrel is $239, which is way out of my price range. I absolutely love the look of it, and I was very excited when I found these flowers from Dollarama, because I thought the leaves were very much the same shape. The color is a little bit different, but that's okay. It's still very much fall color, and I kind of like the burnt orange look. So these were $3. I did purchase 7 of them. I did only end up using 5 of them, so $15. The wreath form on the wreath from Crate and Barrel is a grapevine wreath form. I couldn't find one that was reasonably priced, and I had this one on hand that I got at Dollar Tree for $1.50. So I thought this would work just as good. I'm going to also use some wire as well as some hot glue to attach these stems. So I did cut the stems off just to make it a little bit easier to work with. And I'm going to be adding stems all around on all the wires. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, so 4 different rows of flowers. And I do have a bit of a color variations with the stems that I picked up. Some are burnt orange and some are more like the burnt green color. So I think it's going to look really nice once I am all done. And this cost me, so I got 5 stems at $3, so $15. And then the wreath form was $1.50 plus some glue, so well under $20 with tax. And I'm very, very excited how it turned out for the same size wreath. I think I did really well. I would love to know what you guys think. So as I mentioned, I used both hot glue and a little bit of craft wire. In some spots, I just added craft wire to hold it in place while the hot glue, so that gave hot glue a chance to work. But in some areas, I did just use the wire because I was able to wedge it in with the other stems that were already in there. I love making wreaths. I love using wreaths in my decor. I have done many wreaths on my channel before, and I have to say this was probably one of my favorite ones. The way it turned out, it's just so, I think, classy and not tacky at all, and I just love it. And if you really wanted to achieve that burgundy look, you could always get like a plum color paint and paint all the leaves that color. I think that would look good and work good as well, and that way you would really come close to duping the one from Crate and Barrel. But I was quite happy with these colors. I love these colors and using them all throughout the house, and I was left over with 2 stems, which I think I will definitely be using in a vase or maybe creating another DIY. So once I was gone all the way around with these stems, just really trying to make sure that there's no bare spots, and trying to like I said, fill in. And I was going the same direction, so all the leaves were kind of drooping the same to the same side, so that way it's a little bit neater. But then once, like I said, once I went all the way around, I did cut some of the stems in half, and I was just filling in the bare spots, so that way there was nothing, no patches of like holes showing through or empty patches of empty spots. And so you could also wedge these into where the wire is, or you can even put a little bit of hot glue on it and then stick it in there. It will stay in place. My wreath was going to be used inside, so I wasn't too worried about wind damaging it if it was left outside. And once everything was covered the way I liked it, I just went around and just fluffed up some of the leaves that were maybe pushed down, pulled them out so they're all nice and fluffy. And also you want at this time to get rid of any hot glue that might have been left on the little strings from the hot glue. And here it is. I absolutely, like I said, love it. I think it's one of my favorite wreaths I have made on this channel. I just love how folly the colors are. And here is the reminder of what the original looked like. So as you can see, the leaves are quite similar to the leaves that I used. The color is a little bit different. Obviously not a little bit different, a lot different. But I love it nevertheless. DIY, I picked up these jack-o'-lanterns at Dollarama for $5, and I wanted to create a bit of a concrete black look on them. I've seen a lot of these pumpkins on Instagram. Some people painted them black, some people painted them more gray colored. I wanted to go with black, so I used the same Athenian black paint and just mixed in some sand into it just to make the paint rougher, almost give more texture to it. Now, I have, with the first one, I painted the outside first. Now, you can leave the orange on the inside. I've seen pumpkins like that for sale, where the outside is black and the inside is orange. However, I wasn't loving that look, so I did end up adding a little bit of paint on the inside. Didn't do a full coverage, but just a little bit to cover it up. Now, these are not lighted, but I did buy the little battery operated votive candles that I'm going to be adding to them. And another thing that I'm thinking about adding to them is some rocks to the bottom, just to weigh them down so they're not flopping all over my front porch when the wind hits them. I just think this was such a neat update to them. I love the way they turned out. And to be quite honest with you, you could probably go to your local thrift store and see if they actually have even already light up ones. I just didn't make it to the thrift store, and when I saw them at Dollarama, I thought that they were a great price for what they were and the size that they were. These can range, I was looking online, anywhere from $20 up to $110 at Pottery Barn. So spending $5 and plus 50 cents for a tea light, battery operated tea light, and a little bit of paint is not a bad deal. So like I said, I have two of these. So with this second one, I did paint the inside first. It was just find it a little bit easier than painting the outside and then the inside. And this gave just the right amount of spooky vibes to my front. The inspiration for my first DIY came from Maggie & Co, and as you can see, their print was $42, and it is a bit of a different look inside. It's more like the picture says, storm on the lake. Mine is more in the field, but the inspiration was there, and I have found a free printable, which I will link it down below. You just have to sign up for an email for it to be sent to you. I will link the website down below, and she has tons of different prints to choose from. But the Maggie & Co was my inspiration. So I've printed it off, and then I took some Mod Podge and I had painted the picture with the Mod Podge to give it that oil look. As you may know, I'm not the first one to do this, but it is my first time trying to do it. I think I've done it before on gift bags from Dollar Store when I was adding them to signs and things like that. And this was definitely my first time doing it on a picture that I have printed. I have a laser printer. It is not the greatest printer in the world, but I think the picture turned out really good. And the frame that I'm going to be using came from Dollar Tree. I would have loved to have found a vintage frame to use at maybe a thrift store, but I wasn't so lucky, so I just resorted to the frames that I had on hand. So my price for this was free, as I just printed a print and everything else I had on hand. And here is the frame that I am using, and I'm going to use spun gold paint to paint with it, as well as a brush and some Kleenex. You can find prints, if you can print them. You can also find gift bags are great source for sometimes great landscapes or any picture you might want to include in your decor. Greeting cards, something a little bit smaller, and sometimes even placemats. I have found some pretty neat looking placemats at Dollar Tree that could totally be transformed into a picture to put in a frame. And if you are looking for something specific, Etsy is a great place to check for different types of prints, and you can also buy those, download them, and print them just pretty much the same way I've printed this one. I have been wanting to do this for a while, and I just recently bought some new cartridge for my printer, so I thought it was a good time to do it. If you don't have a printer, you can also send it away to get printed. I honestly don't know where I could send mine to get printed in town, because Costco had gotten rid of their photo development center, maybe you can still send it to them. They just don't have it in store. I would have to really look into it. But the size that I was looking for, it was perfectly fine to print it on my printer. So now I'm wiping the paint kind of off and dabbing it on, trying to get into all the crevices. There is a bit of a design on the inside edge, so I wanted to really have that stand out, so that way it has that vintage look. It is an absolutely gorgeous day outside, and I really wanted to do this voiceover out here, but I think every plane has decided to fly over during my voiceover now. So I'm going to try it a little bit more, and if they keep coming, I'm going to have to go inside and do this voiceover. So here it is. I'm just dabbing the paint now just to give it that aged vintage look. And once the picture dries and the frame dries, I'm going to put it together. I have decided to style it in my kitchen to break up some of that white that's my backsplash in the kitchen. I love my backsplash, but sometimes with the counter being white and the backsplash being white, I'm always looking for ways to add color and texture into the space. And here it is. Here it's how it looks. I absolutely love it. It is exactly what I was going for, and the nice thing is, at such an inexpensive price, I can definitely redo it for every season. For my next DIY, I'm going to be using this linkable chain from Dollar Tree. I wanted to really include this DIY because right now you can buy these because they are part of the Halloween decor. And I'm also going to be using this metallic gold paint. This piece of decor can be used for fall or really any season. I just wanted to include it now because this is when these are available for purchase at the Dollar Tree for $1.50. So I have spray painted this gold. It took about 3 different turns, so 3 different coats, just to make sure the whole thing is covered. And my inspiration for this came from several places. Amber Interiors has it, Pottery Barn have them, and they're these linkable chains. You can take this apart and have a couple different sizes here, or you can leave it as is, the whole length of it. It's fairly long. I did end up separating mine into 2 pieces, so you could totally create couple different styles of it. You can make it look like wood, you can make it painted black. Really, it is completely up to you how you finish this. I just thought it was such a great purchase for $1.50. It's already linked up for you, and you can take your creativity and so just to have a look at these again. At Amber Interiors, they are around $500. They are different sizes, obviously. And then at Pottery Barn, these rustic wood ones are $289. Mine cost me $1.50 as I had the spray paint already on hand. I think that's pretty good savings, and this way you can make them the color that you want that go with your style. So once I have them spray painted, I brought them inside, and I wanted to make mine look a little bit brassy, so I wanted to add some of this black wax. I was just going to brush it very, very lightly on there, just to add a little bit of darkness, just like the brass looks, where it's kind of almost banged up a little bit. It has the little bit of a darker spots, so that is what I was adding here. These decorative chains are super trendy now, and you probably seen them besides Amber Interiors and Pottery Barn. McGee & Co. carries them, as well as Anthropology. And as you can see, you saw, they are pretty pricey. And making one yourself is so much more affordable. And like I said before, you can choose that perfect finish to match your space. So after applying the paint and wax for that aged brass look, I like to go in with a bit of different gold paint. I'm using yellow gold paint as well as the spun gold paint to really make it pop. Just a light touch of gold in certain areas adds dimension and gives it even more of that authentic brass feel. It is all about layering the details, and the steps makes such a difference. This technique is great because it gives you your DIYs that high-end custom look, like something you would see at these high-end store, but for a fraction of the price. Look at how gorgeous this turned out. The gold paint adds just the right amount of shine without being too over the top. It catches the light beautifully, giving the piece that true vintage brass look. You can see the depth and texture from the layers of wax and paint, making it look like something you'd find at a high-end store. It got that perfect mix of age elegance and modern style. Next up, we're going to work on this adorable pumpkin cutting board look. My inspiration for this piece came from Anthropology, but you can also find similar styles at Bed Bath & Beyond, and even a close look-alike on Etsy. The best part, this cutout came from Dollarama for just about $1.50. Talk about a steal. Now, this one won't necessarily be used as a real cutting board, but we're going to make it look like one. I love decorating my kitchen with these seasonal boards. I've even made one for Christmas, and they're such a charming touch. If you wanted to feel more substantial, you could always add a few of these pumpkin cutouts together to make it thicker. And the fun part is you can stain it any color you like. For this one, I'm going to give it that vintage look by distressing it before I apply the stain. There are a few different techniques that you can do here to stain it. I am using my Minwax gel stain in aged oak just because I had this on hand and it is kind of drying out, so I did want it to use it up so that way I can just toss it once I'm done. You want to move. You can see somewhat of a grain here, so you want to definitely move in that direction. I was kind of going all over the place because I was trying to get the grooves to stain inside as well, but once I'm done, I do go with the direction of the stain. You could also water down your paint that you want to use it as a stain. You want to water it quite a bit, apply it, and then wipe it off. That will work as well. And then you can layer it more if you find that it's not quite where you'd want it to be. You can also add darker paint to certain areas that will give it that vintage look. I used a black acrylic paint to add that vintage look, and I added it with a rag and just wetted the rag first, dipped it into the paint, and then went over the edges of the pumpkin, and then also inside all those cuts that I've made. I think this just gives it such a nice vintage look. Like I said, I'm not going to be using these. I have not seen cutting boards. Last year I found a Christmas cutting board at HomeSense for about $20. I have not seen them yet at HomeSense here in town, but I never ended up using the cutting board anyways. It just to put it up, I just put it up against my wall as a part of decoration. So I've decided that I can just do this with my pumpkin that I make here, because I have lots of cutting boards and cheese boards and all sorts of stuff that I can use if I need to use it for anything. This will purely be a decoration. Now, if you have a laser machine or you are very handy in cutting your own stuff, you could definitely cut a pumpkin shape yourself and make your own cutting board with just natural wood. Just make sure that whatever stain or color you put on that cutting board, it is food safe. And here it is, friends. I'm absolutely in love with how this pumpkin cutting board turned out. The distressing really gives it that vintage, well-loved look, and the stain adds a beautiful, rich color that's perfect for fall. It looks just like something you'd find at Anthropology. I was very excited to use this as part of my fall kitchen decor. It's that perfect seasonal touch that adds warmth and charm to the space. From Dollarama. I loved it because of its odd shape. It's just, you know, not your typical pumpkin shape. And it was, I believe these were $3, but correct me if I'm wrong, they might have been $4. I don't know what happened to the price tag. And like I said, I love the shape of it. I absolutely hate the color of it. So I thought I'm going to give it a new life. I went to HomeSense and found these pumpkins, which I thought they looked really nice. They were $24.99, so about the same size. I think they were a smidgen smaller, but they were the right color. So I thought I can make these into this one into those. So for the makeover, I'm going to use the Americana Decor Chalky Finish. It's in color New Life. And I picked this up at a dollar store that's called Your Dollar Store with More. They tend to have really neat things there, a little bit more expensive than Dollarama and Dollar Tree, but lots of different stuff. And then I'm also going to use my Annie Sloan Dark Wax. Any antiquing wax would work. I would like to use more of a chalk paint. I was actually gonna go with Chateau Gray from Annie Sloan, but it has completely dried out. I did pour some water in it in hopes that it will come back to life, but we'll see. And then I'm also going to use my I just washed these, so they're a little bit wet still. My paintbrush. This is just my go-to paintbrush for chalk paint. And then I'm also going to obviously use a bowl where I can just add the chalk paint in. So are you guys all ready and set up for fall? Have you started decorating? I'm almost done decorating. I did know that I was gonna add a couple more pieces after I DIY them, but that's why everybody's gonna just have to come back to my home tour to check that out. And you can see how I decorated my whole home for fall or any season over on my home channel, which is linked down below. It's At Home with Sonia, or it used to be called DIY, Domestic Diva Home. I have just recently started changing all the names over to Life with Sonia, DIYs with Sonia, At Home with Sonia, and things like that. So the home tour is on At Home with Sonia. I don't know if I said that or if I say Life with Sonia. I'm sure it's gonna be on there as well. So like I said, the reason why I wanted chalk paint was because it does do a bit better job in covering up. You don't need to do as many coats as you would maybe with acrylic paint. Now, another neat idea would be to add some cornstarch to your paint. Then you would get a little bit more texture in your paint, which would also I think look pretty neat on here. Now I will be showing that technique if you're not familiar with it, but if you are an avid crafter, you are familiar with that. In my next DIY, when I'm gonna be working on a vase, and I can't wait to show you guys the vase that I had picked up, thrifted. I also wanted to share with you, I did find at Kirkland Home this pumpkin, and it was $17.99 on sale. A regular price, I believe, was $30. So not overly expensive, but still a great saving of making my own. And for the little crevices, I am using a different brush just to get in here. Now, as you can see, I will be needing another coat simply because of the type of the material that the pumpkin is made out of. It's a little bit of a smooth. You could possibly rough it up a little bit just so the paint sticks to it a little bit better, but I'll just let it dry completely and then I'll add another coat to it. I think it's already looking better. The green is a little bit brighter than what I would go with, but don't worry, that's where the dark wax comes in. So this definitely needs one more coat. So this will need a bit more drying, and then we can finish it off after. So here it is, all painted up. And now I'm going to use my dark wax. And I'm going to work in sections, and I'm putting generous amount. Show you, I think that looks absolutely stunning. So I'm gonna continue. Just gonna add a bit more right around the stem. And I think some of that orange popping out is nice too, because you know how there's those pumpkins with orange kind of just showing up here and there, and I kind of like that idea too. So I think this turned out really nice. I'm just going to paint the little stem now. I'm gonna use the Cocoa by Rust-Oleum. So let me show you. I hope you love these high-end inspired fall decor DIYs made with dollar store finds. It just goes to show that you don't need to spend a fortune to create a cozy, beautiful home for the season. If you try any of these projects, let me know in the comments. I love hearing from you. And if you're looking for even more budget-friendly decorating ideas and high-end dupes, be sure to check out all of my other videos. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a DIY. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.